We are live, folks. Our first ever YouTube live podcast. This is number 28. We are very thankful that anybody that is watching, if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to put them on there and we'll try to address them as we go. So, how was your week, Dave?
Not too bad. It's kind of a smooth week, I guess. What about you?
Man, it seems like it gets tougher every week, especially during the winter whenever it's this cold. So it's pretty
There's some
tough.
sunshine this week. Last
I
week we
know.
talked about it.
I was actually spitting that out to customers. I was like, my buddy told me the other day there was only 90 days of sunshine last year, and it made everybody seem like I was really smart, but I was still in the
They're
frame.
probably this one. Yeah. I guess so.
Um, anything happening today?
No.
It's not your birthday.
Oh yeah, today is my birthday.
So happy
Yeah,
birthday! I wanted
today's-
to wait to the podcast to wish you
Yeah.
happy birthday.
Well, thanks. Yeah, today's my birthday.
How old are you now? 35.
43.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting closer to that retirement
Yeah.
age, so thank God for that. So you asked me about my week. Did something a little different the last couple weeks. I downloaded Audible, started listening to some books. I think we talked about it a little bit during UFC, but I had downloaded the David Goggins book that he wrote. He's a Navy SEAL, a former Navy SEAL. He's an ultra marathon runner and known for like his toughness and discipline and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be really interesting to download that to see what kind of dive into what he goes through and what he puts himself through to see how I could use it to affect my life. So um, completed that last week actually, or at the beginning of this week one. But listened to it over the last week. I actually talked to our friend Chris Banks about it. He was listening to it as well. He did some crazy stuff like training 3 days for a 100-mile run and ended up almost killing himself.
Chris
And,
did?
no,
Oh, I was like,
David Goggins.
I was like, wait.
So that's kind of what drew me into the book, just to see what he was doing.
Yeah.
And transition from that, and there's a book called I think it's like Life with a Navy SEAL. Jesse Itzler wrote it. He's like the co-owner of the Hawks. He owns Marquis Jets. I think it's Zico coconut water he owns, and so he actually like hired him and brought him in for like 30 days to train him and do all this stuff. And the workouts and stuff that he put him through were just tremendous, and he put it in such a funny way that it just made the book so entertaining.
Yeah.
I actually think I enjoyed it more than I did the Goggins book by itself. So I found it really interesting. If you have the chance, read it, and if any of the watchers or listeners has a chance, I would highly recommend it. It's pretty life changing to see what a relatively normal guy versus David Goggins, who has all this training and experience in ultra marathon running and swimming and Ironman competitions, and then a guy that's kind of more towards the normal side. Although Jesse Itzler did run a lot of like marathons and stuff like that in his past, so. But it certainly motivated me. I used it a lot in the gym. I actually did cardio for the first time in like years, so kind of applying it to my life.
My internet's been out for like 3 days this week. I guess when it was like real windy. So like I've read this week too, but
You did it the old fashioned
yeah. Megan reads every night, but she reads on a Kindle. But like I don't know, in my eyes I don't like to look at a screen all day.
Right.
I try not to. So yeah, I just read old books. And
Well,
he
I do it on Audible, so
Yeah.
I just hit play. I drive so much, I can listen to a book that's 10 hours throughout the week easily, just because.
Yeah, I'm
there's
a
so
big
much stuff on.
nonfiction guy too, but big nonfiction guy. If anybody out there has any like fiction books or whatever that suggestions for me to read that are cool.
Well, we were just talking about how Justified's such an underrated show.
Yeah.
I actually try to transition back and forth between fiction and nonfiction just to kind of break it up. And some of the nonfiction or the fiction books that I've listened to have been the Raylan Givens books written by Elmore Leonard that the series is based on. So that's not a terrible listen or read. It's definitely breaks up the monotony of listening to somebody that's much tougher than you.
Yeah.
Does a lot cooler
I
stuff.
feel like it'd be a little hard to listen to fiction on books on tape, but
what I do is I actually like whenever the characters on there, you have all the characters from the show, so I can kind of picture the characters and I kind of imagine them doing the things, and it kind of makes it easier for me. I listen to some of the Game of Thrones books. There's another show called The Last Kingdom which is about Vikings. I listened to a little bit of it, you know. So if I can use something like that if I picture the characters, but if not, then it's just useless for me.
Try to listen to Welcome to Nightville. It's a podcast. I try to listen to it, and it's kind of a fiction thing like that. And it's, you know, I'm not really wired up there
Gotcha.
to.
Yeah, well, maybe try out something that you're familiar with, like you know, a movie or a series or something that's based on books. That's the way I relate to it.
It hasn't been in college. When I went to college, I did all history classes and everything's nonfiction. That's kind of the way. It's just I need to get to the other side, more creative.
Yeah, like I said, it breaks up the monotony of it because I get bored with both of them. By the time I'm finished with a fiction book, I'm ready for a nonfiction book, and vice versa. So it just kind of breaks everything up. But you know, definitely would recommend the Goggins books to anybody that's listening. Especially if you're trying to get back in the swing of things with your workouts. You know, it seems to be the trend now that with the first of the year, everybody's got all their New Year's resolutions, and stuff doesn't last very long if you don't have some type of motivation or reason to keep pushing. And, you know, certainly for me, trying to get back into running, you know, I've been lifting weights for about a year. I've put on about 30 pounds, but I'm starting to kind of gain some fat too, so I got to start doing cardio now. And that was definitely some of my motivation doing the cardio.
Yeah, I definitely need to do something. I went to get a physical for my CDO last week, and you know, I'd gained like 20 pounds in like 2 months. I was like, damn, I'm getting fat.
It kind
We're getting fat.
It probably like coincides with you quitting smoking, right?
Well, I don't think so, because I still got to do the jewel thing, and it's like hand them out. You know what I'm saying?
That might be true. That might be true, but I was trying
just
to
get fat.
I was trying to give you a get out of jail free card.
I got that winter weight building up.
Yeah, it's booking season, bro.
Yeah.
But you're welcome to come with me anytime. I've invited you before, but you've always said, you know, I'm not coming.
I may go up there and get that black car, so I'm getting that tanning bed, or go in your spray tent.
Oh yeah. Wife's starting to experiment with spray tanning, so I guess I'm gonna be the lab rat on that. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't even imagine. It's like it's so much healthier than a
That's true. That's true. It's really bad for you.
Maybe until they figure out that the spray tan chemicals are killing people, and you know what I'm saying. So it seems like it's a give and take.
I mean, a lot of older women I know had like skin cancer scares too from stuff like that before, you know, tanning beds. So I mean, it's probably a good alternative.
We'll see. So something else that I was kind of thinking of, I think Friday's the new Monday. I actually don't mind going back to work because, you know, you're in a house with 3 women, you know, throughout the whole weekend, trying to get my kids to clean up all the stuff that they messed up throughout the week. Sometimes I actually look forward to going back to work. But, you know, Friday seems to be like a giant wall that I got to climb every week. It's usually just a storm of just problems and fires that I got to put out. Does it seem like that for you, or is it?
No, not really.
You're such a boss. You just take care of every day.
Well, I mean, every day I just try to survive. You know? Some days it's trying to each other, and then I realize that I've got like a weekend coming up, and I'll be really excited. So.
Didn't I mention the Office quote last week? We're all just working in our casket or something like that. That's what it feels like a lot of times, isn't it? So I know some people like they have a stack of work to do when they come in on Monday. I mean, my workload is pretty much the same every day.
Yeah.
But Friday, man, it's like everybody saves the problem children just for that last day.
Yeah, that's true too.
And you just got to get over that mountain. I mean, the stuff that I had today is just absolutely dizzying.
Yeah, as a salesman, it always happens on Fridays too. Everything bad happens on Friday.
You know, we talked about what time we were going to do this, and so I started work like 45 minutes earlier than I typically do, and I was like, at 11 o'clock, I was like, I've got nothing done. All I've done is spin my wheels.
I thought you were going to say the opposite.
No. Usually that's what it is, but because there were so many problems, I was on the phone for like an hour and a half straight just dealing with problems, some of them that I created. So it was awesome. So, but yeah, to me, Friday's the new Monday, and I hope that changes. I just want to have a Monday and maybe coast on Fridays, but I don't see it changing anytime soon. So we did a little segment last week called 30 Seconds of Politics, and I figured we could just do that every week. So, you know, I'll give you 15 seconds if you want to kick it off because you're a little bit more savvy politically. So what did you think about this week in politics?
I mean, Trump had his address on
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
the border and stuff. Was it? No, it was Tuesday. And then Democrats did their rebuttal, and
When's that become a thing?
probably like I don't know, probably for as long as I can remember.
It seems like it's like a really. You think so?
Yeah. I think I don't remember if they ever televised it.
It's
before,
more
though.
prevalent since Trump's been in office. It seems like that, like they've got that rebuttal just loaded up.
No,
and can't
they've
wait
been
to-
doing it. I know since Bush. Probably, I'm sure way before that. Someone out there who's probably smart and can tell us. But yeah, Nancy
Somebody else
Pelosi and Chuck Schumer look pretty scary. It's all Botox stuff, and they're like staring at the camera, and it's. I was like, I don't know.
So pretty much the way that I'll try to be brief because I think you took more than 15 seconds.
Yeah,
or whatever
yeah.
it is. But it's the same as last week. I mean, to me, if they're not going to get stuff going, we just need to fire everybody and start all over again. I think that would probably be the best thing for the
You
government.
can't fire anybody. Plus,
What,
the people that are suffering right now.
for
are
the people, by the people. I mean, we should have more
Yeah.
say in this. If they're not doing their job, I mean, do you think?
So we do have the say in on election day.
I know, but election days are really far off. I mean, do you think that there's any other job on planet Earth that if you do a bad job today, you're safe till election day? I mean, can you imagine if you had that leeway at your job?
I mean, I kind of fly under the radar at my job, so I mean, sometimes they don't know I'm there.
Nice.
I don't kind of sit in the back.
In the middle.
I don't think I've spoke
But
3 words to
I
anybody
mean,
else.
seriously, what other profession? I mean, can you imagine anything else that's televised and at the level that politics is, like a sports figure? If they were that bad, they would have been gone a long time ago.
Yeah.
And there's no other job on planet Earth that you can do a crappy job forever. You can not vote on anything. You can vote on something in 2006, and now when it comes up again, you completely change your mind. You vote against it, and I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, Greg Williams is the first Browns head coach to ever leave with the winning record, and he can keep his job.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about this, where it comes down to, is it hurts like the regular bureaucrats, like regular, low-level federal employees that don't have a paycheck.
I saw that it affected the economy by $3.6 billion when I was doing my cardio at the gym or whatever.
Wow.
So I don't know how they facilitate that or quantify it, but it is what it is. So that's enough of that crap. But something else that I've kind of noticed in the news lately has been like warfighters that are on trial. Most popular right now is the 2017 deal with the Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher. He stabbed and killed an ISIS fighter. I guess there's conflicting witness statements, but one witness statement said that the ISIS fighter was, I guess, hurt, and they were trying to perform some type of medical procedure on him. And Mr. Gallagher walked up and stabbed him in the torso and the neck and killed him. And then supposedly took photos with the corpse of the person and even conducted some type of re-enlistment ceremony with it. It was all very strange. But it's something that I don't really remember until this modern day and age, with the change in bureaucracy, the change in the rules of engagement, the rules of war, and kind of to I guess look at it from a different perspective. And there's a deal with a Green Beret Major Gelstein. I'm sorry for saying that name right. I have doctor writing. Goldstein. I'm sorry. I can't read my own writing, but he actually killed a bomb maker that was tied to the killings of several Marines. And in 2010, like I said, he was very well decorated. He was even nominated for the Naval Cross. So had a lot of really really prestigious background, and it's all kind of been taken away at this point in time because he did a 2016 interview on Fox News and admitted that he had killed this bomb maker. And he was cleared of this back in 2015 and happened back in 2010. So you've got two completely different scenarios, but they're televising a lot of them and giving them a lot of airtime. And kind of like we were talking about with this new thing on the politicians having a rebuttal to everything, it seems like that this is a pretty new trend as well. And I don't really know how to feel about it. Obviously, if Mr. Gallagher did what they say he did, and it was a fighter that was unarmed and being attended to by medical personnel, that looks pretty serious. And I think he was actually arrested in a facility that treats PTSD as well. So there's a lot of moving parts of that one. But from killing a Mr. Goldstein, killing a known bomb maker, that's I don't really see a problem with that one. He's killed two of your buddies or three of your buddies or three people that you know of that are never going to get to go home to their loved ones. There's just so many rules of engagement that kind of prevent people from doing their job now, and they're going to prison for it.
I don't think it was his job to stab the bomb maker.
Well, no, the Navy SEAL was the one that stabbed it.
Yeah.
But the Green Beret, he actually, I believe, he shot and killed the bomb maker. So it's like I said, it's two completely different deals and obviously two different sets of scenarios. But it's just something that I find is very interesting. I read or listened to a lot of the novels or the nonfiction books that came out about whatever movie. So like American Sniper, I listened to it before it came out. Lone Survivor, I listened to it before it came out. And one of the things that sticks out to me about this topic is, in Lone Survivor, when they discovered the men on the mountain, or when they were discovered by the men on the mountain, they literally discussed the rules of engagement and the rules of war, and put their own lives at risk. And eventually, three of them were killed because they didn't really know what to do with the men that had discovered them. And one of them did have a cell phone, which there's two no-nos in war zones: the cell phones and AKs. So it's just something that is almost shocking. Like I said, two different sets of scenarios. If Mr. Gallagher did in fact do what they said, that's pretty damning. But from killing a known bomb maker, being cleared of it once already, and now being charged with murder, I don't understand why they would do that other than just something that they're being pressured by certain organizations to do something else. And it's a shame that these men go and sacrifice their lives and spend time away from their family and have to worry about killing a known murderer. And I believe the bomb maker had already been captured and released once. So there's so much, like they capture people all the time. They bring them in for questioning. They can't prove who they are. They have to release them. The next thing you know, they're fighting them a couple weeks later. There's just so many rules and so many things that tie it up. I can understand why nobody would want to go do that job, and it has to be one of the hardest jobs in the world. So do you have any thoughts on that? Or?
Yeah, I think before I want to preface this or anything, say, I'm not like a big bleeding heart liberal or anything like that, but it's going to sound like it first, but I'm going to lead to it. I've been anti-war for forever. I think these wars are stupid. We shouldn't be overseas like this. You're sending off our brothers and sisters, or people in our community, to go over there and tell them we need you to do that. Train people to become killing machines. And then what happens when you can't control that, or whenever they have PTSD? We need to take care of our people.
I absolutely agree.
And
with
I
that
think
part.
that our government's kind of failed a lot of people.
Yeah,
on that.
I mean, our VA system is probably.
There's no reason.
I don't even know. Our veterinarian system is probably better than.
Where did these incidents happen? Were they in Afghanistan or Iraq or Syria?
I don't know about the one in 2010. Obviously, that could have been either Iraq or Afghanistan, but the one in 2017 was most definitely in Syria. And kind of what you said. I mean, I'm obviously anti-war as well. I wish that there was never had to be.
Yeah, but at the same time, I support anybody that's willing to go over there.
What I was going to say though is like instances like we saw in Syria with the rise of ISIS and everything else. I almost think that it's kind of our duty to help and protect people if we can, and we have the ability to. And I know that it sacrifices men and women's lives, but they know what they're signing up for. They're fighting, atrocities and true evil. And so some of these scenarios, it seems like to me, are justified. And
but at the same time, they pick and choose their civil wars of which to help out with. There's genocides that go on all the time that we don't step in with.
And also they support, through back channels, they support different dictators and different...
Who have God knows what kind of...
and that's what happened with Gaddafi.
Yeah.
We supported him forever, and then we pulled our support. He ended up dead, and then it created a giant vacuum over there. Same thing with Saddam in Iraq. I mean, and now we're even doing it with cartels in Mexico. I mean, it's hard to wrap our minds around, and I don't want to pick and choose what I think is the right ones and not the right ones. Obviously,
Yeah.
what led us into the war on terror was one of the worst atrocities, that America's ever faced. But I just wish that there would be like no middle ground. Either you're going to let these men go over there and fight the war, how they need to do it. I'm not advocating for killing women.
That's one of the reasons why the wars weren't a good idea in the first place. There's no set out plans.
Right, and it's different because there's no uniforms over
and you
there.
can't say, you don't know who you're fighting,
No.
and then and then that we're looking at the effects of after 9/11 still, which is coming with guys with PTSD.
Right.
Soldiers have fought bravely, and then now they're having these issues and being kind of left behind on some of these things.
Absolutely.
And then what are the next after things? Like generations of young kids in these places be occupied that probably don't have good favors towards Americans, towards American culture, Western culture at that, and wonder what the outcome of that would be as well.
It's really hard to say because we supported Afghanistan against Russia, and then the next thing you know, we're going back to fight the kids that we had supported in the past. I mean, it's hard to wrap your mind around. I mean, the CIA helped train Osama bin Laden and all of the forces over there. It's a weird deal, and far be it from me to judge what we're in, but I just wish that we would do a better job of protecting our soldiers, giving them the ability to do their jobs and not have to worry about coming back home and being charged with murder. Obviously, if they do something wrong, then they're going to have to face the consequences. But if they're killing known killers, that's completely different. And like you said, we're doing a complete injustice to those men and women by not supporting them when they get back. Can you imagine if our politicians put all their effort and energy that they're putting into fighting the wall or advocating for the wall into helping those men and women? I mean,
I'm sure there's some that do too. I know that there are some that do, but it's just
we just need to do a better job of it.
It should have been planned beforehand, like what would happen, and we're sitting at towards the worst end of what could have happened. They should have been prepared.
Right.
From guys coming back with these issues. I liked General Mattis a lot. I respect him. He's cool.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I agree with the president on about Syria. We shouldn't, moving troops from there is a good idea. I think.
It's hard to say.
Let Russia fight. Spend their money and make it.
Like I said, far be it for me to judge that, and who knows what Mattis knows or what President Trump knows.
Yeah, because I mean, we're not sitting in Washington. Right. So I mean, this is all just.
Yeah. I guess the point that I wanted to make is let the men and women do their jobs. If they're taking care of business, and don't hassle them, don't bother them. If it's something that's a serious situation where we're killing women, children, unarmed fighters, whatever it may be, that's obviously a different situation. But just something to note and to think about, and hopefully it gets addressed, and maybe they stop publicizing this so much and just take care of the men and women, and if they do something wrong, let us know, and if they're quit, then definitely let us know, because Major Goldstein's life's never going to be the same. So many things in our current age, you hear the bad thing, and it's all publicized, and people run with it, and accusations run wild, and then if they're cleared of those accusations and they're innocent, you don't hear about that. Yeah. So, just do them justice. Don't run their name through the mud if it's unneeded or unwanted. So, transitioning away from the serious stuff now, we always do a good helping of sports here. Obviously, the national championship was on Monday. A little bit of a surprise with Clemson kind of handling Alabama pretty easily. But it seems like to me that college football is kind of at an all-time high. It seems to be more popular than ever, and on the other side of that, you have college basketball, and it seems to be kind of floundering, in my opinion, at least. Even around here, it doesn't seem to be as popular as it used to be with Kentucky basketball. And I guess my question with that is, do you think that the format of college basketball is kind of hurting the actual product, meaning that you have so many one and dones, you have so many super teams, that goes in with the recruitment, stuff like that. And typically, if you kind of notice, usually the more experienced teams with the juniors and seniors end up coming out on top in the tournaments, which I find is kind of interesting. But do you think that format's affecting it? Do you think that there's anything that college basketball can do, or am I imagining all this stuff?
Well, I think what you said about college football is become more interesting too, because college football we've seen with the new coaches that are being hired in the NFL. College football is kind of becoming like an experiment ground for offense.
Kind of like almost like some type of, like minor league almost, because you've got the coaches that are
But a
kind
more
of groomed.
experimental version where they're trying out new plays. The air raid offense is coming back. Spread offense is real big. And then college basketball compared to the NBA is so much different. It's so slow, I think, and it's like, but I still love to watch it. Like I don't have any knocks against it, watching it or the gameplay.
I told you it's really
Yeah.
difficult for me to sit down and watch it because it's so sloppy. There's so
I
many
watch it
turnovers.
every night. I love
It seems to be that so many of the players are just so raw. I
Yeah,
feel like that's
yeah.
the best way to put it. I don't know if there's like been some type of, I don't know, setback in the AAU program, setback in high school
I'm sure,
basketball,
yeah.
what it is, but everything's so much more sloppy and it's become. I think it's probably because of the flash that all the players have. It seems like to get to the big levels of college basketball or NBA, it seems like you have to have a little bit of a flash to your game. You look at all of the scoring like somebody like James Harden does, or whatever it may be, and all the celebrations and all the antics. It seems like the kids are kind of gravitating a little bit more to that than kind of honing their overall
Yeah.
game. It's a two-way player is so rare now. And I imagine that too.
Well, I think that college basketball and the NBA are such a different breed of basketball too. I mean, look at like all the NBA stars were. There's not a lot of those guys that were stars in college.
Yeah, that's very true as well.
Yes, I mean, you look at like one of the best players of all time in college is Jimmer Fredette. He's not even in leagues. He can't play defense.
Yeah.
So he's over in China, being the best player in China right now.
Right.
I mean, there are guys that do good, but I mean, you don't see a lot of progression. I've started to when I watch Kentucky, just watch it from the beginning of the year, and then Cal's teams always make like runs in the tournament. Like they'll be like the worst Cal team ever and go to the championship game and lose to UConn. I mean, that was like my favorite college basketball year ever.
Yeah.
It was great, but I think like they don't progress them to like I don't think that you see it because of the way that the teams are set up. Like that's not like a me sport; it's more of like the team. Then when you go to the NBA, there's a lot of me's, but the style's a lot different too. So I mean, I may be getting that part wrong where it's not me.
Do you think
the
that
style is different?
Maybe a factor in it as well is that a lot of these coaches just look at pure and raw talent and not necessarily how the teams will mesh together? I mean, I feel like college basketball is such a sport
Yeah.
where you have to really mesh and stick
And
together.
I feel like that when you're watching teams like Kentucky or Duke, that's what they're trying to do all season is trying to get these guys to mesh together better.
Too many individuals.
Yeah. Because they're going from being the best player at their AAU school or AAU team or their high school team, and now they're playing with all these other guys at the same. It's
Right.
especially when they're all young guys, like all freshmen or whatever, coming in like that, all the one and done players coming together like Kentucky. That's why they one and done. That Kentucky's won one championship with those kind of teams, but
Right. Yeah,
I mean-
it's hard to fathom that all of that talent doesn't kind of go into more championships. But I guess that's kind of like you said, it's an experiment from day one because you have such a big turnover of players going to the league. Which once again, that's kind of the format. Either let them go to the league right away or make them stay 2 years.
I think
I
you
mean-
gotta let them go to the league. I don't think that I think that college football and college basketball both, if they're good enough to play,
It's going to be
pros go
so
ahead and
few.
go.
It's going to be so few people that go straight to the league. I mean, if you look
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all
yeah.
the people,
That's
that,
why I think if they let them do it, there'd be less people that do it
Yeah,
because
they-
they're only gonna take like Kobe's
right,
or like LeBron's, and that's
Right.
it.
KGs.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you'll have your Andrew Bynums or whatever that don't really work out. But I think that that's probably the best bet. And then you'll get a player. You're going to have 2 years with that player. You're going to be able to make sure that he's going to mesh with your team. You're going to be able to take his raw talent and develop it into something. And I think it'll help the product of the
Yeah.
NBA as well.
So the NBA started to do that where they're going to give out, D-League invitations to players, certain like players, I guess, coming out of high school, so they can skip college and go straight to that. Like
Interesting.
they'll, work there, but they could like progress better in towards an NBA game instead
Yeah.
of progressing towards the college game.
I think it's only going to help both because I think that there'll be much better
Yeah,
teams
yeah,
in college basketball. I think you'll have a much more star appeal and you'll be able to gravitate towards a team because once you start really liking a team, you fall the next year. It's all new,
Yeah,
new bunch
yeah.
of guys. You can't even like really invest yourself emotionally. You're just following the school. You're not necessarily following the guys on the team, and then that hurts them when they get to the NBA because you don't have that name appeal and that that connection with that player, and a lot of times it doesn't transition well to the league. You got so many guys that leave after 1 year or whatever, and you watch them
It
go to
takes
the
me
league.
quite a few Kentucky games to kind of get used to the players, and then so I'm a guy who watches every game. So like the fourth or fifth game, like it took me to be like, oh yeah, that's that guy, whatever. And then the next year I got to do the same thing again. I mean, it's still fun to do.
I think that's the reason why you see like Luka Doncic. How do you say it? Doncic. However you say it. I think that's why he's so successful. Because they're obviously a lot more polished player in Europe, and his game sets up a lot better. And you looked at a couple years ago, and you had Porzingis come in, and he's so much more polished than these American players.
Because Europe plays a similar style to the NBA, like a faster, pass-oriented.
Usually they're older too.
Yeah.
They're a lot more.
And Luka was like 16 years old, 17 years old, playing against 30-something-year-old guys in their prime.
Yeah, that's true too. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it progresses, but I think that college football is really kind of setting themselves aside from college basketball, and it's very noticeable to me. Like I said, I turn on the football games, and it's a lot more closer to the NFL than college basketball is.
The high-scoring version of the NFL.
Yeah.
It's depending on who you watch.
Really?
SEC, it's closer to the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but I love to watch those Big Ten teams now. This goes so fast. They're not Big Ten, but the 12, the Big 12 teams are so fast. Oklahoma fan now. Wearing Oklahoma stuff.
Is it just because of Baker?
No, I think that I like Kyler Murray a lot this year too.
He's so small.
Yeah, he is. They're talking about him going first, and he's like the same height as me, being the first pick. In the draft.
I know it's scary. But he's obviously a really good talent. He's so quick. But
yeah, he's
you wonder how
number 7 pick in the MLB draft.
You always have to wonder how it transitions to the NFL because it's just they're just giants there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Russell Wilson's a smaller guy, but Russell Wilson's still 2 inches taller.
Yeah, and he had a couple years in he different schools,
Yeah.
different looks.
2 different college programs. Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what he does because he was like the 9th overall pick in the MLB too.
Yeah.
And I know that the dude that the Cardinals just hired, what is his name?
The guy got fired from Texas Tech.
What was his name?
Kingsbury.
Kingsbury.
Yeah.
So he had said in an interview that he thinks that Murray's like a first-round pick.
The number 1 overall pick.
And I think he's got that pick right now, right?
Yeah, he has it.
With the Arizona Cardinals.
I don't know if he has or not, but he may have put up better numbers than Baker Mayfield last year. I don't know.
The Cardinals just invested in whatever that rookie's name is that they're comparing to.
Yeah, Rosen.
Aaron Rodgers or whatever.
So. I read a story that they're talking about trading him to the Patriots because the Patriots wanted him really bad last year. Probably don't know.
You never know.
I mean, I don't know that.
Sitting under Tom Brady for a year. I mean, usually it's kind of strange how those players play so well with the Patriots and then they go elsewhere and they don't play so well. Garoppolo obviously aside because he got injured and we really don't know what he has yet. But.
Yeah, plus he's going to be under Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan's systems are kind of like that too. You look at Nick Mullen, looked like the best quarterback, one of the best younger quarterbacks in the whole league this year.
Yeah, be interesting to see the way it all plays out. So, what time is it? I have to call Jerry here.
7:36.
Okay. So we'll do one more topic and then we'll give Jerry a call. Not a whole lot of stuff or notes about the NBA, other than people are putting up some crazy numbers. I don't know if you paid attention to that, but
yeah, Marcus Aldridge still 55 points last night, but they went to double
56
overtime.
And
no 3-pointers. He didn't even try to shoot a 3-pointer.
Russ had 21 points and 24 assists, which is just insane.
But his number, yeah, I saw his assist number. He was 6 off from 30.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So a lot of crazy numbers being put up, but what kind of caught my eye was the Allstar voting. I guess the second wave of ballots came back, and I noticed that KD was not in the top 5 of Allstar voting. I thought that was very interesting because I feel like he's kind of, at least last year, he was the consensus best player in the NBA, and I feel like his personality and kind of the creating the fake profiles, the create animosity and putting comments in his own pages and stuff. I feel like he really shot himself in the foot with that, to the point where people aren't gravitating to him as much as they were when he played for Oklahoma City, and they had the KD is not nice because he's kind of known as the nice guy, and that's kind of what drew me to him. He played for a smaller team. He had Russ there.
He's always calm when he plays.
Yeah. So I just was interested to see what you thought about that because I don't remember any point in my lifetime where, a lot of people that say the best player wasn't at least one or two overall. I mean, I think LeBron going to LA obviously got him a lot more All-Star votes. Steph's always going to be right there at the top, but I think that KD's a much better player than Steph, and here we are with him not even in the top five. I thought that was very odd.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of jokes about him that are negative, and I mean, it'd be hard to beat him in a way, not like money wise, but just the stuff he has to deal with. Like, he made a decision to go to another team, and people I know there's more to it than that, but people just grilled him for it. And, people are always looking to grill him, and maybe because he can't, it doesn't seem like he can handle it very well or ignore it, kind of like someone like LeBron, for example. Just brushed off in his head now.
I think LeBron gets more of a pass too.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of really crappy things.
I don't know if he's done the decision thing was really crappy, but besides that,
I mean, I feel like writing a letter to Cleveland, getting Cleveland spirits and hopes up, and then having a couple years there, his personality driving key players away, and then being like, oh well, we suck now. I'm out of here. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of that stuff. I feel like he gets a pass. I mean, can you imagine if another player carried wine into a building pre-game?
that'd be cool.
I don't think so. I think I think people will criticize him. He gets so many passes for that type of stuff, and then somebody like KD gets roasted. But I think that a lot of KD stuff is done to himself. I think
That game they could have beat the Warriors. That series they should have beat the Warriors. That last game he looked like he took off, like he was kind of just coasting through it.
Oh
They
yeah.
lost it, and then he goes to them the next year.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest part that I have about
too.
it. Is I felt like they should have won that series.
Well, and I think a lot of people were like, why would a great player have to join somebody else that already had a super team essentially
Yeah.
to win? And I think that people would have admired him a lot more if he'd stay there. That's what I think that's so cool about Paul George, staying with the Thunder, giving them more years to try to make something happen there. And I noticed that he was number 4 in the All-Star voting, so he's right up there with it, and it's just interesting the way that all plays out. And I think that he probably looks at that stuff and it probably eats at him, and he's probably creating a couple of fake accounts right now, to be honest with you. So I'll be interested to see how that all plays out.
And Paul George, he meshes. I feel like that we're talking about teams that mesh well. He's starting to mesh well, perfect with Russell Westbrook.
They just need more offense there.
Yeah.
We talked about it before. They need a shooter or some type.
Their defense is so good, but I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if that could beat a team like the Warriors.
I don't think it can, but I think that they're one, maybe 2 pieces away from being able to contend with them. I'm not saying they could beat them.
I still think Schroeder. We haven't seen the best of Schroeder yet, too. So
yeah, they have him coming off the bench too. It's not like he's a starter, which, like I said, 2 guard's always been the hard spot. But then if you move him to 2 guard, then you really don't have much firepower coming off the bench. So you really need somebody else other than Schroeder to come in and kind of take that. That load off of himself. He really probably should be in the starting lineup, and they probably should go out and get somebody else to be off. I mean, Carmelo would have been a good bench guy, but he doesn't want to play ball. He wants to go and be a starter on a team when he's obviously not good enough to be a starter anymore. So I feel like that hopefully by the trade deadline maybe they can address it, but they've traded away so many picks and so many
they don't have
players.
any picks this year. I don't think.
It's just very difficult for them to acquire any talent. So it'd be interesting to see how that works out. So, you want to go ahead and call Jerry so we can do our NFL segment? He might be watching right now. He said he was going to. So, if you are, turn the TV off, Jerry. We don't want to be hearing that stuff.
Tell him to call Jerry Bear. But I hope that's the right number. Got to turn on speaker.
Hello.
Sugar.
Gentlemen, how are we tonight?
What's up? How are you?
Hold on,
Well, after a soul-crushing day.
We're talking about that. I asked if Friday had become the new Monday because Friday seems to be a giant wall for me to overcome, and Monday's not that bad anymore.
Right? Think they're all Mondays anymore?
So I'm gonna be honest with you. I wrote all this stuff down, and I did not chronologically list the games this week, so I'm a little bit unprepared.
Oh.
So
Oh wow.
if you wanna kick it off, I don't know that I don't
Sure.
even know if I know what the first game is on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. First game on Saturday is the illustrious Colts against the playoff starving Chiefs.
The playoff starving Chiefs.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what's your thoughts on
Poor team.
that
Poor
matchup?
guys can't win a playoff game.
I know it's been
I mean, I'm back and forth on this one. I really am because my heart wants one thing, but my mind is telling me something else. I really want the Chiefs to win. I'm a big Mahomes fan. Love that young offense, but I just think that the Colts are going to take another step forward, and Andrew Luck is going to take another step forward in his career, and I just think Mahomes is just going to have to wait a year.
that's very
That
interesting.
but that offense of the Chiefs has just been on fire all year. But I think the Colts' defense is a lot better than the Chiefs, so I think the Colts' defense is actually going to step up, and the Colts are going to pull it out.
What do you think, Dave?
All right. Well, I think the Chiefs have to win this. I don't think they haven't won a divisional playoff since like 1993. South Florida. That's a long time.
And how many years of those have they had? If not the best record, definitely one of the top
Yeah,
records.
yeah,
in
a
the
lot of
AFC.
them.
Yeah.
But Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he threw 50 touchdowns this year. That kid, I would say, like, you're coming into a game, you're not like, you never played in the playoffs before. You're coming in, I would definitely say the Colts, but I just think that he's a different kind of guy. He's, special, I guess, up there with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady on touchdowns. I mean,
Yeah.
in the season, so I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs on this one.
It's really interesting to me because I feel like that, like you said, you've got the Chiefs that are right there every year. Obviously, they had a very prestigious year on offense, but their defense isn't very good.
Yeah.
And then you have the Colts coming in. They're riding this big wave of positive energy with, I think, 10 wins in 11 weeks. They've got their star quarterback back. Their defense is playing lights out. I really feel like that it might be whoever gets the ball last wins the game. And I'm a Colts homer. I love Andrew Luck. I think he's the future of the league. I do not like Mahomes at all because he's been so shoved down my throat. The dude eats ketchup on macaroni.
That's unforgivable.
And so many nasty things. So I was hoping that I would be the only person to pick them, but I cannot go against the Colts. And it's kind of the reverse for me. My heart wants the Colts to win. My brain says the Chiefs are going to win, but I'm definitely going to go to. I'm definitely going to go with the Colts in this game. I think their defense is playing really well. I think they've got a lot of film on Mahomes. Yes, they've had 2 weeks to prepare, but at the same time, they've really not faced a team that has this much momentum coming into a playoff game, and I feel like that there's going to be a big pressure or monkey on their back to try to win because of the stuff that we mentioned with so many failures in the playoffs when every year, halfway through the season, the Chiefs are obvious Super Bowl picks.
I feel like Andy Reid's got to win eventually, though.
Yeah, and Jerry and I actually talked about this in several different scenarios with, some of these, somebody's going to have to break through this weekend, and it very well may be Andy Reid and the Chiefs, but, like I said, I'm going with my heart here. I'm picking the Colts. So.
Let me throw this fact out here for you. You said the Kansas City Chiefs defense is terrible, and actually it is. They rank 31st in points allowed, and the Indianapolis is just outside the top 10 in defense. So I think that is actually going to be the difference maker is the defense, because both offenses are ranking in the top 10. And the Chiefs being number 1 and the Colts being number 5. So I think the defense is what is going to be the difference maker in this game.
Do you feel like that there's an atmosphere or a tradition in Kansas City that they're just kind of mentally weak or soft, and I'm being dead serious. I'm not joking. This is not a joke.
No,
barbecue sauce.
I get what you're saying. But like Mahomes said, this is a different team. It's a different team every year. The past really doesn't matter.
That's fair
He's
enough.
Never been, he's never been in an NFL playoff game. So
that's fair enough.
I think Andy Reid does have that stigma as far as not being able to win the playoff games. He had that stigma all the way back when he was coaching the Eagles. The Eagles would always make it to the championship game, but never could actually make it to the Super Bowl until he did 1 year, and then he got beat by the Patriots very handily. But I'll say this: Andy Reid's never had a quarterback like Mahomes. Dude is fierce.
I'm interested to see what happens when the Colts punch them in the mouth, and I think that they're either going to do it offensively or defensively, and I feel like that really putting the pressure because nobody really wants to talk about it, but the Chiefs' running game obviously changed quite a bit, and Williams stepped in big time for them, but he's never been in the playoff atmosphere either, and I find it very interesting to see what happens if they're able to put a lot of pressure on Mahomes, kind of get into his head early, or if he has a lead to come back to and he's under that pressure, what exactly is going to happen? I obviously think the Chiefs are going to be able to put up numbers, but at the same time, I think the Colts are going to be able to put up numbers as well, and I truly think that whoever gets the ball last is probably going to win the game.
It's probably all going to come down to turnovers in that game.
Well, yeah, that may be true, but at the same time, you look at, like the Bears and Eagles last week, turnovers obviously didn't factor into it too much because the Bears were able to turn the Eagles over quite a bit, and then they couldn't transition that to any points, and that goes to show you what a good defense can do for you in the playoffs. And I just don't know that if the Colts turn over the Chiefs, if they'll be able to stop the Colts. So that could be a big factor in this game. So.
Good point. But the Chicago offense is nowhere near any of these offenses, and I kind of figured that's what was going to be the case last week. I didn't think their offense was going to generate enough points, and sure enough, it didn't.
It's a slow brag.
Might I mention?
Yeah, Jerry was 4-0 last week. David's coming in at 2-2, and I'm 3-1. So we'll see if this divisional round can change stuff. What's the night game on Saturday?
What was that?
What's the night game on Saturday?
The night game on Saturday is the Rams, Cowboys at the Rams.
Okay. So what's your thoughts on that one?
Actually going to be in L.A. All these games are really good. And even though I think that the first game between the Colts and Chiefs is going to come down to defense, this one is obviously going to come down to offense. So the Cowboys cannot move the ball. They have a terrible time moving the ball. Even though their defense is pretty good, I just don't think they're going to be able to stop the Rams. I just don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to keep up on offense with the Rams.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you 100% there.
Now, probably by 2 scores.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. Although I will say that the Cowboys have obviously moved the ball much better since acquiring Amari Cooper. But I feel like, the Rams have had a couple weeks off. They probably re-energized their defense, try to get their offense going, getting Gurley healthy. And I just feel like that the Cowboys have no hope in this game. I feel like you said, it can be about a 2-score game.
All right, I disagree with this completely. The Rams, they lost last year against the Falcons by a lot. Made us believe in the Falcons in the playoffs. Let's see, the last 5 games that the Rams played, they played the 49ers and the Cardinals, and they beat them. So, they've had like 4 weeks off, I guess, when you really think about it. They lost to the Eagles and Bears, and they beat the Lions. So, they lost to the Eagles and Bears. They scored like 6 points against the Bears. Mm-hmm. And then we're talking about their defense. They let the 49ers score 32 points. I like the Rams, but the Cowboys are coming in with better momentum. I agree with Jerry though. They have they have a really bad time moving the ball, but I just think that this is the game that the Cowboys will win.
It's very interesting. I hadn't really factored last year into it. The Rams just came out to such a hot start, and they obviously sputtered towards the end of the season a little bit, but. The Eagles and Bears obviously 2 very tough playoff teams, and I don't know that I would factor that in too much because, like everybody's kind of saying, I think the Cowboys got some offensive problems.
Yeah, they only scored like 6 points against the Bears, so.
The Bears was a top.
They're a team
defense.
they're a team that should have, with Jared Goff being, I think Jared Goff's pretty good. I mean, you got Todd Gurley. I mean,
He was hurt over those last couple of weeks too, right? Though.
Who?
Gurley.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that changes a little bit too. Do you have any final thoughts on that game, Jerry? After hearing what we had to say.
No, I think we covered it all. I think Dave's wrong again, but
All right. So what's the first game on Sunday? That's the Patriots Chargers, right?
Yeah, Patriots Chargers. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So let's let Dave lead this one off. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, this one's pretty easy. Tom Brady's 7-0 against Philip Rivers, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say it'll be 8-0.
That's all you have to say?
That's all I have to say.
Well, that was easy, Jerry.
It's called Res Ipsa Locator. It speaks for itself.
So what do you have to say about that, Jerry?
Well, I'm going to go with the home team, or the road team this game. I'm going to go with the Chargers. Chargers over the Patriots. I think that Philip Rivers is having an MVP season, MVP caliber season, and I think this is the year that he finally beats the great one, Tom Brady. You know, both of these teams have an offense in the top 10, but they also have a defense in the top 10, and that is the Chargers. So I think that they've got momentum on both sides of the ball, and I think that they're gonna pull it out. They're gonna go into Foxborough and come out with a victory.
To be honest with you, I watched more football last weekend than I've watched all year. I was very impressed with the Chargers, even though I thought that they kind of let the Ravens come back in the game a little bit more than they should have. And kind of looking at the season, Patriots just had a lot of problems. I think it really equates to their mindset of not really supporting Brady. They completely wasted a trade on Josh Gordon, which was rather heartbreaking because they obviously receivers at this point. And they weren't really able to get that with him. They're so up and down with the running game. They don't really present any kind of consistency, and it didn't seem to have the feel of the Patriots of old team. Whereas I feel like the Chargers have had a lot of good seasons based on their offense more so than anything, and their offense is still really good. They've got young receiver and Mike Williams. They've got Keenan Allen, which has been pretty steady receiver for them. You got Hunter Henry coming back this week. Obviously, the great Melvin Gordon at running back, and now they have a defense to support that. That's all really, I guess, scary factors when you look at that in the matchup that they have this week. And to be honest with you, early in the week, I was definitely leaning towards the Chargers. However, something kind of changed my mind when I saw the weather change. It was so warm, everywhere in the United States, it seemed like, over the last few weeks. And, several times this week I saw the Patriots practice in the snow and the nastiness. And to have a Southern California team come to Foxborough play in inclement weather when it's very cold, it would be absolutely shocking if they were able to pull that out. Plus, you have the factor of, the mindset over them and having something to prove and being 7-0 and 0-7 as the Chargers are 7-0 as the Patriots, and to know that they came in there, they've done it before, and the Patriots have been able to come on top. So really, just the weather has changed my mind, and I feel like the Patriots have had a lot of time to prepare for this game. There's going to be very poor weather, and it's probably going to be a grimy, field goal game. It's going to be very close. And I just think the Patriots will probably end up pulling it out because of all those factors that I just said. So, what do you think about that?
So I'm the lone wolf here with the Chargers.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have been the lone wolf if we had picked on Monday. But like I said, it just my opinion changed throughout the week.
And Lone Wolf worked out for him last week.
Yeah, it did too.
With the Eagles.
You're going to be able to step up big time if we're all wrong. Somebody's going to make a move this week. So. That would make the final game, the NFC game, the Eagles and Saints. So being a John Eagles fan, the only person that picked the Eagles last week whenever we thought it would be the easiest game.
Which was a great game, by the way.
And I might add, you were only right by about 2 inches. We were only wrong by about 2 inches. But still, I thought it was going to be a blowout. It obviously wasn't. So I will give you the floor first to pick your Eagles versus Saints game.
The NFL is changing to largely offensive schemes. It's an offensive game anymore. defense no longer wins championships. Out of all these teams, there's only one team outside the top 10 in offense, and that is the Eagles. I'm going to think that there's no way that the Eagles are going to go into the Superdome and take down the Saints this year, unfortunately. I really want the Eagles to win, but that's going to be who I'm pulling for. But I'm going to have to say the Saints are going to win this game. Drew Brees is having a hell of a season. 13-3 this year. Just don't think the Eagles are going to be able to stop that offense nor score in the Superdome. So I'm going to go with the Saints.
I'll agree and disagree with you. While I agree that a lot of the things that you said are true, I'm not sure that I'm necessarily to the point where defense doesn't win championships. I think that it's almost a thing. I think it has to be two-way. I think, if you look at like the Broncos that won the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago, that was obviously a defensive, heavy team. And obviously the last two Super Bowls with the Patriots and Falcons and the Patriots and Eagles, those have kind of been more offensive minded. And maybe you're right. Maybe that's the area we're going. But as far as the Saints go, obviously their offense is very prolific. They have so many weapons that Drew Brees can rely on. But I think their defense sucks. I think it's always sucked. I don't know why they can't get it together. Maybe it's because they're so offensive heavy and minded. But I think it'll be more of a back and forth affair than you think. I think the Saints are going to pull out the win because they're the home team. I think that Drew Brees has been so good at home, throughout his whole career, especially in the Superdome. But I think it's going to be a lot closer than you think. If it was more than 10 points, I would be surprised, especially since they got plastered by the Saints, not too many weeks ago, and I think
week 11 they destroyed.
I think that's going to be on a lot of people's minds on the Eagles side to come in with a little bit more of a chip on the shoulder. But ultimately, I think the Saints will prevail. So I'll give David the floor last on this one.
Dick Foles always proves everybody wrong. So, I really want to go against you guys and pick the Eagles. But I don't. The week 11 game, man, they just beat the crap out of them.
Yeah.
So just from that alone.
That was the Carson Wentz team, though. That was so far in the past.
That's true. That's very true. So I think it will be, just because it was a blowout. That you can't blow out a team twice. I wouldn't imagine. I'm shocked that the Eagles were able to win with their inability to run the ball, and I think it's really going to harm them, down the stretch. Saints can score really fast.
Very fast. Yeah.
Let me throw this out there at you. You said that their defense is terrible. They are in the upper half. They're ranked 14th in points allowed, where the Eagles are 23rd. And, so I don't think their defense is as bad as what you think they are. I think they just have that stigmatism because their defense has been so terrible in the past.
Well, I guess I look at it at the playoff teams that came in and played them. They were able to overcome the Rams, but the Rams put up a lot of points on them. The Cowboys completely stomped them, and I just think that they have the luxury of playing Tampa Bay and Carolina twice a year. That's really invaluable for them to kind of build their numbers on and grow. And if I'm wrong, I'll eat my words. I'll say it, but I just don't put my trust in a team that just has so long not been able to play defense and not be able to stop people. And, I think that it's a little bit different since they're at home, a little bit different since they've had the time off. But at the same time, it's playoff football. The Eagles have momentum coming in. And if the Eagles could run the ball, I think it would be a very close game.
I feel like that God is on Nick Foles' side, too.
But maybe
Did you know that Nick Foles and Drew Brees went to the same high school?
Didn't know that. Look at you spitting facts again this week. But what I was saying is that if the Eagles could run the ball, I think it would be a field goal game. But I feel like the Eagles' inability to run the ball, to try to give the Saints different looks, they're going to be able to really key into those areas. And maybe Darren Sproles can give them the little bit of a lightning bolt that they need. He ran the ball really hard last week. He's really good catching the ball out of the backfield, and obviously he's going to have something to prove going back into New Orleans. So I'll still stick with the Saints, like I said, but I think it's going to be much closer than you give the Eagles credit for. So
I hope the Eagles pull it out. That's what I'm going to be pulling for.
well, we will find out. Do you have any last thoughts on it?
Nope. So what can we get a recap? Who we got?
Yeah, you want to go first?
Yeah, I got the Colts, Rams, Chargers, Saints.
Okay, I've got the Colts, Rams, Patriots, and Saints. And David's got all the other ones.
Except for the Saints. I have the Saints, but the opposite, yeah.
So you have...
I have the Patriots, and I have the Chiefs, I have the Cowboys, and the Saints.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's all officially on film, and there's no going back at this point. So we're all stuck with
I'm
it.
going to go 0-4 this week.
But we appreciate you joining us as always, and
Absolutely.
we're going to continue this trend hopefully into next week, and hopefully we have good news on one of us, and one of us can brag other than you next week. All right, buddy.
Right on. Fly, Eagles, fly.
All right, have a good weekend, man.
You guys later.
See ya.
Well, I guess we'll see who's right, who's wrong, and
He's probably wrong. So.
well, I'd be interested. I think that it could be a big movement week for you. I could catch him with the difference that we have in the one game, but that's what he's up on me right now. But you could really turn the tides on all
Can't
this.
can't bet against Tom Brady, but at the same time, I'd say I couldn't bet against Nick Foles.
I just think that this is probably maybe the worst Patriots team that we've seen in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I said that last year, and they made it to the Super Bowl.
I mean, but I feel like that this team's significantly worse than
I
last
think
year.
it's the same team as last year.
I don't think so. I mean,
Except for it might be a little better this year because they have Sonny Michel. They can run two back sets.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm
run-
wrong. But that being said, I still think they're gonna make the Super Bowl.
I still think Sonny Michel's a superstar. He's
I
one
do
of the
too.
superstars.
But they don't stick with
They do,
them.
yeah, I agree.
They go up and down. They use 3 and 4 back systems. And the last few weeks that I watched them, they're using Burkhead more than they were Michelle.
But yeah, you got to think about it coming into the draft that Michelle was seen as the better prospect than Chubb, coming from that Charger team. And the Browns, they're like, man, look what we have here. And they start running him, and their team does a lot better. And then
But the Patriots have always been like that with running backs for the most
Yeah.
part. I mean,
their running backs, they don't want. I mean, it's not that they don't want them to be stars, but I don't think that's not part of their offense.
you'll flip on the game and you'll see somebody go for 200 yards and 5 touchdowns, and you're like, this dude had 42 yards last week. What's going on? So I think the Patriots have a really good game plan. Like I said, they're coming into Foxborough, inclement weather. It should set up for a Patriots win, but we'll see. So
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in the Rams. Hopefully the Cowboys win. So,
well, it'd be good for ratings, I'm sure, but I just don't see any way that the
I
Cowboys.
love what the Rams are doing. I think that's what
Keep
all
up.
the NFL teams are trying to copycat it and get just hire 30-year-old dudes off the street. So I mean,
Yeah.
not off the street, but you know what I'm saying. Just
It'll be really interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
I just don't think the Cowboys can keep up, and they kind of limped into the playoffs, so to speak. They didn't look that great
Yeah.
against the Giants.
I don't think Dak's as good as everybody thinks he is either.
He's pretty good though.
Yeah, I mean he won last week.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
We'll see if he can move the ball.
What'd you say
so-
his record was in the playoffs?
It was last week, the first one he won. So I mean,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So he's just 1-1 now or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about combat sports a lot last week, but I just had one note here to kind of end it all. But I guess my question is, do you think that Conor McGregor is becoming irrelevant? He's only fought once in a couple years in the UFC. He lost pretty convincingly. We talked about the Floyd Mayweather fight last week against Tension, and he actually called Tension out in an MMA match. I think that a lot of it was tongue in cheek because they're obviously 2 different weight classes, but it just seems like that he's making little comments here and there just to try to stay relevant. And I'm afraid that his star is going to fade if he doesn't get back in the ring and remind people, what made him so great. But at this point, I feel like he can afford to do that. It would be really hard for me to stay hungry with all those millions in the bank. But I just find it very interesting for combat sports. We've talked about it a lot. Obviously, the ratings and everything are down, and they need him. So I just wonder if he's trying to stay relevant at this point. I don't know that you're kind of a outsider looking in. You're just becoming a bigger fan of the fights, but. What do you think about that? Because social media plays such a big role in everything now.
Yeah, I feel like so many people, like fair weather fans or like casual fans, is a better way to say it. Casual fans, when you think of, if you were just walk up on the street to some layman, and be like, who's the best UFC fighter, they'd probably say Conor McGregor.
Right.
So I feel like when he goes out and does these stunts, whatever, it's kind of him aiming to become more of the pop icon, kind of like Rousey. And Rousey going to, WWE, making a crap ton of money doing that, not having to,
get punched in the face.
Yeah, and the movies and stuff she does. I mean, maybe it's him trying to, follow that kind of path. And
you might be right. I guess I'm
concerned
from a combat sport perspective that it's gonna cause the sport damage. With all the stuff that John Jones does, you really don't have a guy that everybody looks at as like the big star that can draw in pay-per-view numbers and break records every time other than Conor. And it just seems like instead of, having a fight announced, getting back in the ring, erasing that from people's minds, he's settling for, Twitter beefs and, shady comments and stuff like that. I just feel like he needs to get back in the ring, or he might become irrelevant because it is a what have you done for me lately world that we live in.
Yeah.
Because, like, you talk to MMA fans, like current MMA fans about Ronda Rousey, and they're probably like, who? What happened there? I mean, and that's only been a couple years that she's been removed from the sport. And then if you go back even further and you talk about like GSP, most people are like, who's GSP? And he's one of the best fighters of all time.
Yeah.
And he's only fought once in the last, 5-6 years. So I feel like you definitely have to stay active and stay in the minds of the fans. And I just don't. I feel like that they gained a little bit of momentum with him coming back, and I would hate for him to lose that because he got beat and then didn't stay active.
Yeah, you might be, like I said, following that same path Ronda Rousey did. Because, I mean, it's a smarter path because if you lose again, you're not going to be, like, known as the guy who, gets knocked out and then be like, yesterday's news. You're, like, in movies now. Kind of like what The Rock did, except for a different path of it. Try to branch out in a different way.
I don't know how marketable
that
he is.
That extends your
in
longevity.
Movies. Obviously.
Yeah, probably not. I mean,
he's very marketable in like commercials and stuff like that, especially
him
when
as
he's
an
fighting.
action star, like a short action star, that skinny guy.
I heard he got Jet Li, bro.
Yeah.
But I just think that perhaps, he's not following the best route, and far be it for me to say, but, like I said, I just would prefer him to stay active. It seems like every time that the MMA world loses him, he, throws a chair through a bus or fights Khabib or gets a speeding ticket or has another kid. And that's like what's becoming more famous.
Has another kid.
And like a week went by without any news, and I saw a thing that said that the Conor McGregor camp is in talks with Paulie Malignaggi for a boxing match. And it's like, where are we going? What are we doing here? And it's just really hard to keep up with them. And, maybe he thinks he's Floyd Mayweather already, and
I'm
he
sure
just pop in and out.
Yeah.
But I don't know that. I think MMA fans might be a little bit more fickle than what he's thinking. And I feel like that his star kind of got hurt against Khabib, and I feel like if he doesn't get in and kind of erase that memory pretty soon, then his star could fade.
I think where it was such a high-profile fight, where it was like such a big fight that you saw it advertised everywhere, him losing that fight wasn't that bad, but then he's come off that other big fight that he lost too, but still.
You might be right, because I think a lot of that got removed by Khabib's antics after the fight. So maybe it's just harder for me as a fan not to have him in the ring and fighting and putting on good shows and kind of being able to have him in a conversation for one of the best fighters to ever live, 155 pounds and under. But I just would like to see him come back. I think the sport needs him. And I think that if he doesn't, then I don't really know what the next direction is. It'll have to be more towards the Brock Lesnar DC fight.
I was never a big Conor fan until the Floyd Mayweather fight, and he actually held his own for that long. It gave me so much respect for him.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that he stepped out, went against probably the best boxer, and then held his own. So I mean,
I wasn't a big fan of him when he first came out because he was, for me, I look at somebody like that and I'm like, this guy's all talk. But then he keeps doing exactly what he says he's going to do time after time after time again. And I wasn't really on board with it until he beat Aldo like he did. And I'm like, this dude's legitimate. And then obviously went on to beat Eddie Alvarez to capture the 155-pound belt. I thought that the boxing match was going to be much closer than people gave him credit for, and he did pretty well.
See, I thought it was gonna get it. I didn't think it was gonna last as long as it did.
I just don't think that people give enough credit to the striking game of MMA fighters.
Yeah,
They put a lot of work in, and he had a boxing background even before he was an MMA fighter. So.
Yeah, but not the boxing background of
no,
Mayweather.
No, absolutely not.
Time.
Where he,
as
soon as Mayweather came out of the womb, they're like, "Here you go, baby. Here's
your
boxing gloves." So, but obviously not. But I just feel like that the sport needs Conor, and I hope instead of reading these crazy news stories or rumors that perhaps then there's a concrete fight coming up and we can
maybe Vince McMahon's trying to get in touch with him too. So.
Maybe so. Their product's even worse off than the UFC, so we'll see how it goes. But thank you guys for tuning in. This is our first try at this platform. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we'll continue to kind of switch things up. We're going to go back to just our normal film routine and releasing the next day for next week. But we'll definitely do something live like every other week or so on different platforms just to give you guys some different looks.
Yeah, let us know your picks.
Yeah, let us know picks, comments, smart remarks, whatever you guys feel. We appreciate your support. Make sure while you're checking this out, you like our video, subscribe to our page, share it. Go to Facebook, Instagram, like Double Axis podcast, and until the next time we'll see you, or until we see you again the next time, then we'll talk to you guys later.